Kai knew what it meant to fight for survival. He knew the taste of dirty river water and the weight of an empty stomach. But that night, among the wreckage of a world that never gave him anything, he found something that would change his life forever. First came the scream. Then the splash. A boy, his clothes worth more than Kai had ever owned, struggled against the current. But he wasn't alone. In the murky depths, glowing eyes shifted. Kai knew exactly what that meant. He could walk away. Let the son of the man who destroyed his village disappear. But something inside him wouldn't let him. He jumped. This wasn't just a rescue. It was the beginning of something dangerous, secrets meant to stay buried. Because once Kai uncovered the truth, there would be no turning back. What he didn't know. Someone was watching. Kai hit the water, the cold biting into his skin like 1,000 needles. The river pulled at him, dragging him down, but he fought through it, his eyes locked on the boy sinking beneath the surface. He shouldn't be doing this. Every instinct told him to turn away. This boy didn't belong here, he belonged in mansions, not the filth-stained currents where Kai fought to survive. But his body moved before his mind could stop it. His fingers closed around the boy's collar, yanking him up. Theo gasped, choking on water, his eyes wide with terror. Kai barely had a second to breathe before the real danger struck. The crocodile surged forward. Massive. Predatory. Too close. Kai's grip tightened on the rusty knife at his belt. This wasn't just survival now, it was a fight. But as he braced himself, a sharp prickle crawled up his spine. They weren't alone. Beyond the thrashing water, past the chaos, something lurked in the darkness. Watching. Waiting. And in that moment, Kai knew, this night was about to change everything. This content may violate our usage policies. Did we get it wrong? Please tell us by giving this response a thumbs down. The crocodile lunged. Kai twisted, dragging Theo aside as powerful jaws snapped shut inches from his face. The beast thrashed, sending a wave crashing over them, murky water filling Kai's mouth. He had no time to cough, no time to think. If he hesitated, they were dead. His grip tightened on his knife. Rusted, dull, barely more than a fishing tool, but it was all he had. He kicked hard, pushing Theo toward the surface before turning to face the monster. The crocodile's eyes locked onto him. It lunged again. Kai raised the knife and slammed it down with everything he had. The blade sank in. Not deep enough. The crocodile roared, its tail whipping through the water, hitting Kai's ribs like a hammer. Pain exploded through him as he was thrown back. The knife slipped from his fingers, lost to the river's depths. Theo sputtered, barely conscious. Kai's arms burned as he kicked toward him, dragging him to the surface. The beast circled, its movements slower but still dangerous. Blood curled through the water. Kai's strike had hurt it, but not enough. Then, stillness. Something shifted on the riverbank. A shadow. Watching. Someone had been there the whole time. Kai's instinct screamed, this wasn't over. This content may violate our usage policies. Did we get it wrong? Please tell us by giving this response a thumbs down. Kai dragged Theo onto the riverbank, his chest heaving. His muscles ached, his ribs throbbed, but they were alive. For now. Theo coughed violently, water spilling from his lips. His body shook, his breath ragged. Up close, Kai could see the details, the gold bracelet on his wrist, the fine stitching of his ruined shirt. This boy didn't belong here. And yet, here he was. Theo's fingers twitched, clutching weakly at Kai's sleeve. His lips parted, voice barely above a whisper. They'll kill me. Kai froze. It wasn't panic. Not the ramblings of a drowning boy. It was something else. A truth buried in fear. Footsteps. Faint. Controlled. Kai's head snapped up. Across the river, half hidden behind an old fishing boat, a figure stood watching. Too far to see details, but close enough to know one thing: they weren't alone. His heart pounded. He should leave. He had done enough. But those words, "they'll kill me," clawed at his mind. If Theo was a target, that meant there were hunters. And Kai had just made himself part of the story. A sharp rustle from the trees. Kai grabbed Theo, hauling him up. "Move!" Theo groaned, barely able to stand. Kai didn't care. The Watchers weren't waiting anymore. They were coming. With one last glance at the shadow by the river, Kai turned and ran. Branches snapped behind them. Footsteps. Fast. Organized. Closing in. Kai didn't slow down. Theo stumbled, breath ragged, but Kai yanked him forward. "Keep moving," he ordered. They had no time. A voice cut through the night. "Find the boy. Kill the other." Theo flinched. Kai's grip tightened. Whoever wanted him dead wasn't giving up. They broke through the undergrowth, mud clinging to their clothes. The city lights shimmered in the distance, unreachable. Nowhere to run. Theo gasped, gripping his side. We need Evelyn." Kai frowned. "Who?" "My mother's assistant. She has access to my father's security. She can help." Theo hesitated. "And she can crack this." He pulled something from his pocket, a tiny flash drive. Kai's gut twisted. People were trying to kill Theo over this. "What's on it?" Theo swallowed hard. "Proof. My father, he's not just a businessman. He's a monster." A gunshot rang out. Too close. They darted into a side alley, pressing against the cold stone. Tires screeched nearby. A black SUV. They had been found. Then, a door creaked open behind them. Evelyn. Inside. Now. They rushed in. The door slammed shut. Safety. Relief. Then Evelyn sighed. "I'm sorry, Theo." From the shadows, Theo's mother stepped forward, gun in hand. "This content may violate our usage policies. Did we get it wrong? Please tell us by giving this response a thumbs down." Theo's breath hitched. His mother's expression was unreadable, but the gun in her hand spoke louder than words. "You should have stayed away," she said. Theo's hands clenched. "You're working with him." She didn't deny it. "You don't understand, Theo." Kai's instinct screamed. This was a trap. A sudden bang, the door behind them burst open. Armed men stormed in. They had seconds. Kai grabbed Theo and ran. Bullets tore through the air as they crashed through another door, into darkness. A lab. Dim lights flickered over glass tanks, metal restraints, and something worse, cells. The air smelled of chemicals and decay. This wasn't just an underground facility. It was a prison. Theo stopped. His eyes locked onto a screen flashing security footage. His voice shook. "What is this?" Kai barely heard him. He was staring at one of the glass chambers. A figure slumped inside, restrained, unmoving. Recognition slammed into him like a fist. His father. Alive. Theo's voice broke through. "Kai, what?" A new voice echoed. Cold. Familiar. Theo's father. He stepped into the room, flanked by guards. Impressive, he mused. Like father, like son. Kai's blood ran cold. "What?" A smirk. "You're mine, Kai." Theo turned, horrified. "No." But Kai couldn't breathe. His worst enemy wasn't just a monster. He was his blood. Chaos erupted. Alarms blared. The lab was collapsing. Theo's father smirked. "You won't leave alive." Kai's fists clenched. No more running. He grabbed a fallen guard's gun and fired. The lights shattered. Smoke filled the air. Theo, move! They sprinted through the lab as explosions rocked the walls. The past was burning. A final blast. The ceiling caved. They barely made it outside before the lab was swallowed by fire. Everything inside, erased. Theo doubled over, gasping. It's gone! Kai clutched the flash drive, jaw tight. Not everything. Theo's father was still alive. The truth still existed. And now, Kai held the key to destroying him. For years, he had nothing. Now, he had power. Theo met his gaze. What do we do now? Kai exhaled. We end this. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning.